Hello!
Welcome
to the FanDuel Sunday Recap. Hello, everybody. We are here talking about everything that happened in the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games today, this Sunday, and we'll be talking about a lot of things in a fantasy perspective. My name is Josh. You can find me on Twitter at FYFJosh, joined by my great friends Jay and John Luke Garofalo. Guys, how you doing today? Jay, how was your Sunday so far?
Sunday was pretty good. The Giants blew it like usual, so I'm used to that. Mixed results for my fantasy teams, but overall doing well. Here hanging with you guys, so I couldn't ask for much more.
I just got inside after just running around for like 4 hours after that Justin Tucker kick. Just running around shirtless all over Baltimore, screaming at the top of my lungs.
Something else, my
What
goodness.
is that? What is football? Football's back.
One of the craziest ends to a game so far this season. Justin Tucker hit the longest field goal ever. In case you didn't realize, guys, I'm a Ravens fan, so it was really exciting for me.
I'm not even a Ravens fan, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so good. It was so good. But like I said, guys, we are here recapping the games, and before we get into the recaps of everything, we want to talk about the game that's happening tonight. The Green Bay Packers, they are playing against the San Francisco 49ers tonight, Sunday night. And I expect a real close one here, guys. Right now, the over-under, it's set at the Packers are 3-point underdogs. The San Francisco 49ers are home. So how does that make you guys feel? Do you think the Packers are underdogs in this game?
I think that's a safe assumption, right? With like how we only know, like last week, yes, the Packers played well. They came back, but it was against the Lions. So like, good. I'm sure some people still have trust issues, and 49ers have been pretty good. So I could understand why they're underdogs, and they're not that much of an underdog. So 3 points is fine. I think it should be a good game. I hope so. I'm afraid it's going to turn into just a defensive game.
Well, it really depends on what defense shows up for the 49ers, too. Is it going to be the one that shut down Jalen Hurts last week, or is it going to be the one that gave up over 300 yards to Jared Goff? Now, granted, I know some of that was in garbage time, but still, 3 touchdowns, 338 passing yards. So it same thing with that's going to decide how well Aaron Rodgers does tonight. Is it going to be the one from last week or going to be the one from 2 weeks ago that pulled before the end of the game?
I think it's the former. I think we'll get a good Aaron Rodgers. I'm not too worried.
I'm confident in a good Aaron Rodgers coming back. Maybe not quite as good as last week, but I guess we got to mention the 49ers, they're 2-0, so they're undefeated so far, but they have played the Lions in a close one where the Lions came back, right? You just mentioned that, right, Jay? But also last week, the 49ers, they also had a pretty easy game as well. Trying to see the Eagles. I'm not going to say an easy game. The Eagles have looked pretty good so far, but they won that game 17-11. So both games have been pretty close. The Packers, they beat up on the Lions last week as well, but it's 35-17. So I think it's going to be a really close game. If I'm betting on this game, I'm probably taking the Packers with points. Personally.
I think I would go the other side. I think I'm going to go with the 49ers.
But
I'm going to go right in the middle. They're going to tie.
He's not touching this one. But
JL's going for the push.
From a fantasy perspective, guys, on the Packers side of the ball, I think it's a little bit more straightforward. You got Aaron Rodgers, you got Aaron Jones, you got Devontae Adams, the 3 guys listed here. You're starting them. You're starting all of them. They're all studs.
You gotta, right? You gotta.
One thing I do want to ask about on the Packers side of the ball is their tight end situation. Do you think you can rely on Robert Tonyan for the rest of the season? He just had a big week. Not such a big week, week 1, but the Packers as a whole didn't really do much week 1, right?
Yeah. No one got points. No one did anything in week 1. I think you can. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is pretty reliably targeted, Tonyan, so I would be fine rolling with him. It really just depends if this game ends up actually being offensive, and that's gonna. I could see Tonyan just not having a good week, but that's like every tight end. So I'm personally, if I have him, he's my best tight end. I'm gonna roll him out at this point. Now that most of the games are over, too, unless you have a tight end in tomorrow's game, you're probably gonna have to.
Yeah, JL, you hit the nail on the head. Unless you got one of those top tier guys like the Wallers, the Kelseys, if you have Tonyan, he's likely your best option, and you're hoping that he gets a touchdown.
I'm right there with you guys. And on the other side of the ball, we have the San Francisco 49ers that are a little bit more scattered, we'll say, from a fantasy perspective. There's not 3 studs that we're starting, but they do have some studs, in my opinion. And Deebo Samuel George Kittle, Trey Sermon. I know a lot of people are starting him this week, especially with Elijah Mitchell out. There's a ton of running back injuries with the San Francisco 49ers right now. Are you guys putting Trey Sermon in your starting fantasy lineup right now?
Nope. Too scary. Too scary. No, thank you.
If I don't have, obviously if I don't have a better option, I would be more comfortable with him as a flex, but I'm all in on Sermon.
What have you seen that has given you that confidence, sir?
I've seen bums in the San Francisco running back room go nuts coming off the street. So they traded up to get Trey Sermon. I know people were out on him after, he had one carry and he got a concussion in that one carry, but I want any piece of this running back backfield, and they want him. They want to use him. So I'm not comfortable, but I'm okay with it. Let me put it that way. I'm not forcing him into my lineup, but you could be much worse off.
I'm going to say this, guys. Like the big factor for me on this one is that Trey Sermon was announced as the starter coming into it. He's going to get carries earlier in the game. And, if he can get double-digit carries, I think that can lead to fantasy success. But let's see. I mean, like, he only had one carry last week and he got a concussion. I know that's not his fault, but it was in the third quarter when he got his first carry. Let's see what he can do with some carries. I don't feel confident in it, but I am willing to throw him out there, if I have to. How about this real fast, guys? Brandon Ayuk. Do you think Jay, let me ask you, do you think Brandon Ayuk can finally have his comeback game this week, or you're just waiting and seeing?
So for Ayuk, for me, he's at this point in the season, you've got to really treat him as a wide receiver 3 and just hope he gets things going. Honestly, I'm not in on Ayuk this week. I think it's going to be a big George Kittle week. The Packers have struggled against the tight end position so far. They let Juwan Johnson have a big week game 1, and last week TJ Hawkinson went off. So I think this is the week that Kittle gets right.
Yes, I really hope so. Although I thought this was the week Pitts was going to get right, and
let's not talk about that.
Didn't pan out that way.
Not great, Bob.
I am with you guys on Kittle and his breakout week. I'm betting on that. Let's go, Kittle. Put Kittle in your lineups because he is going to have a good week this week against the Packers. Is there anything else in this game that you guys kind of think we should mention or go over before we get into recapping the 1:00 games?
No, I'm good.
All right, perfect, guys.
This is pretty straightforward for me.
Well, let's get into this Texans Carolina Panthers game. All right. Yeah, it was a pretty good one.
Thursday.
Just kidding. Oh wait, we don't want to go back that far, do we?
Probably not. We start with today's games. Hey, if anyone in the audience has questions too, feel free to throw them in here. We'll try and get to them.
Well, we do have actually one question. I know we're going to cover Nick. I'm sure we're going to get into this a little bit when we get to the Browns game, but Sean's coming in here saying, what happened to Nick Chubb today? Of course, in my keeper league, I have Chubb and Hunt and didn't start Hunt. I'm about to start Chubb and Hunt over Chubb and JT.
Whoa.
Should Sean consider starting Kareem Hunt over Jonathan Taylor going forward? JL, you're down there making some noise. Listen. For you know what? I'll give my opinion first. Then it sounds like you want a second process this. I'm putting JT out there, guys. The JT Nyheim Hines situation is kind of similar to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt's situation. JT is a better runner. He's a better running back. He's closer to Nick Chubb. He's going to get his. I'm still playing JT. I'm making sure he's in my starting lineup. I would not be that worried. He got more carries than Nyheim Hines. So I'm still starting Chubb and JT in this situation, even though I do want to find ways to get Hunt in my lineup.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with you, Josh. And maybe I'll save most of my analysis here on the Chubb Hunt situation for our recap, but I agree with you. I would roll with my best players here, and it's going to be Chubb and JT.
You guys said it all. I completely agree.
Kevin here. Bird up.
Bird up,
what up,
Kev.
And Parker, let's get it going. Woo, woo. I like your energy, Parker.
Yes.
FanDuel with the FanDuel.
Yeah,
so meta.
FanDuel with the sunglasses. That's fancy.
That's so meta, bro.
Looking real
Sean
nice.
in here. What's up, dudes? FYF fan. What's up, Sean?
How you feeling?
He goes, dudes and Maria. Yes. Be polite, Sean.
Well, come on. Yeah. Hey, obviously.
Kev saying, showing love to FanDuel. Love it.
I don't know why I read that like Ron Burgundy was like, sup, FanDuel?
Sup, fan? I am Ron Burgundy.
All right. Well, guys, getting into this first matchup from the 1:00 games, we had the Washington football team play the Buffalo Bills in what was kind of a blowout. The spread going into this game, the Bills were favored by 7 points. All right. And they covered the spread and then some, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's just look at the win percentages right here. This shows me the Washington football team never stood a chance.
According to my expert genius here, I conclude that the Washington football team never stood a chance.
No, the Washington football team did not come to play, but they did have some fantasy producers. And let's just get into the football team here real fast. Taylor Heineke had a good game from a fantasy perspective, right, guys? Antonio Gibson, great game. McLaurin, not such a good game, but Logan Thomas, great game. Is there anything that stands out to you the most, Jay? What do you think here?
I think people who are worried about Antonio Gibson after last week, they should, calm things down a little bit. He only had 12 carries, but he still got close to 20 points. 73 reception yards on that one play. That was absolutely
that play
beautiful.
Was amazing.
That touchdown catch, my goodness, it just shows his explosiveness. And Taylor Heineke, I think you got to be comfortable with him as a low-end QB2, not necessarily somebody you're forcing into your lineup, but before long, we're going to get into bye weeks, and you're going to need some, especially in Superflex leagues, you're going to need some starters. So Heineke, I think you can do much worse than putting Heineke as your QB2.
I'm with you. And I'm just seeing in the chat here, Sean coming in saying, wow, Fuller touchdown with 2 seconds left. Oh, man. Wow. So this Miami-Las Vegas game looks to be tied up right now. It looks like they're going into overtime, guys. So keep an eye on that and see how that plays out. Man, that should be exciting. I don't know how Miami's in that game, by the way, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm right there with you, Jay. I think Antonio Gibson. I'm not gonna call him a must start because there are other running backs out there you can throw in your lineup above him, but he is as close as a must start as you can get without saying he is one. Because I mean, 13 touches, but he's so explosive. He's so good, and when the game script is better, which I intend it's going to be going forward, I think Antonio Gibson is just going to continue to eat.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's Antonio Gibson. You got to throw him in your lineup. At this point, where you drafted him, he's going to be good.
Just checking over on this Miami Vegas game over here.
Yeah, we're getting lots of wows.
Wow. Yeah, Fuller just got
it must have been
conversion.
Sick.
It was 2-point conversion to tie the game.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, otherwise, on this Washington Buffalo game, is there anything else that stands out on the Washington side of the ball? To you guys? You think McLaurin's got to go?
J.D. McKissick is going to be that guy that's going to be annoying all year. He's going to be that guy that when he's on your bench, he's going to go off, and as soon as you stick him in your lineup, he's just going to put up a dud. So I think he's, there was some people that saying he's an automatic RB2 every week. I think he's a perfectly fine flex play and a bye week fill in, but it's going to be like this all year with him.
After one game, they were like automatic RB2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My goodness. The overreactions are real.
Exactly. So I think he's more of a flex play and a bye week fill in versus that RB2 status that everybody was looking at after last week.
Yeah, and absolutely. If you're looking for a game script for J.D. McKissick, you're going to be like, oh, they're going to be behind and they're going to give him a lot of dump off passes. Well, they were behind and he didn't really produce, right?
You got to be careful playing the narratives.
Yeah. Hey, Logan Thomas looked good. That's the last thing I'll say on this Washington team. It's 3 weeks of consistent output. He's the tight end 7 on the season so far. So I like Logan Thomas. He's a good tight end option.
Yeah, no. I like Logan Thomas. He's going to be a tight end 1 in my opinion.
The tight end 1, the dynasty tight end 1. Josh?
No,
what?
Don't
you heard it here first. Josh said dynasty tight end 1, Logan Thomas.
Yeah. Clip it, FanDuel. Post it.
No, Logan Thomas will be a top 12 tight end at the end of the season. I'm pretty confident about that.
Yeah.
That's not saying much, though. Do you think he can get into the top 5 possibly? Yes or no?
Maybe.
I don't think so. I don't think it's likely. He had the perfect, like I was talking about, if you don't have one of those top guys, this is the line that you're looking at for tight ends. 3 or 4 catches, 50-ish yards. If you have a touchdown, it's a good week. Like that's basically, unless you've got the Kelseys, the Wallers, the Hawkinsons, that's what you're going to expect.
Absolutely. Now on the Buffalo side of the ball, Josh Allen, he had a hell of a game. He
Josh
went
Allen,
off.
good.
Josh Allen, very good. Stephon Diggs, a little disappointing considering how well Josh Allen did. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders and Cole Beasley were each top 10 fantasy producers, I think, on the weekend of PPR league so far. So are you guys concerned about Stephon Diggs at all? JL, are you?
No, not at all. Not at all. He's the most talented wide receiver on this team. And, we know that Josh Allen likes to spread the ball around, but Stephon Diggs is most likely going to be his favorite target. He's going to be the most explosive player. So I'm rolling with him every week. This is the type of player you don't want to miss those games where he's going to blow up and get those, 30, 40 point games. And he's not playing poorly just because he gets you, was it 9.2 fantasy points this game? Yeah, it's nothing to write home about, but it's also not 3.
Yeah.
So
yep, I think. Go ahead, Josh.
No. I completely agree. Stephon Diggs is in your lineup. Keep him in your lineup.
Yeah, and the thing is, like you said, JL, 9.2 FanDuel points in a PPR league. He got over double digits in what is a down game. That's what you want out of your studs. That floor of double digits, where when he has a bad game, they're not crushing your team. I mean, how many games is Emmanuel Sanders going to get 2 touchdowns, Zach Moss going to catch a touchdown, and one not go Diggs' way? So I think it's just, it's nothing to be concerned about whatsoever.
Yes, absolutely. And what do you guys think? It's going to be just a split of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary going forward? Do you think Zach Moss ran away with the job, Jay, by any chance?
No, I think it's going to be like this all season. Singletary's looked pretty good this year, honestly. And this is the best that Zach Moss has looked all year. So I think it's just going to be one of those, whoever's got the hot hand is, it's going to be ugly. I think their flex plays, you might have to use them in buys and stuff like that, but it's going to go back and forth all season, in my opinion.
I agree there.
And if you look at their stat line, it's not like Zach Moss got all the work or all the opportunities. It was pretty fairly split. It's just Zach Moss did more with it this game. So I could see that switching next week.
I agree. I think it's going to be a roulette with both these guys all year. If they're both healthy, you're never going to know which one to start, and you're never going to feel confident putting either one of them in your lineups, but you're probably going to have to start one of them one way or the other throughout the season.
Fancy Fred, boys.
So
Justin
nice.
Tucker,
So
we know.
Nice.
Oof. You missed our freak out in the beginning.
Game.
It was the first thing we said.
We actually took off all our shirts when we were talking about Justin Tucker.
We
just put it back on.
Yeah. There's a whole synchronized choreography. Is great.
We had a routine set. It was beautiful.
So, guys,
Tiny
the next game I want to get into here is the Chicago Bears at the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns were 7.5 point favorites, and they covered. They covered very well again.
They covered so good.
They covered the spread at home. If we look at the win percentages throughout the game, it looks like Cleveland handily won this game, doesn't it, guys? Doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
My expert opinion tells me that.
Wait, look at the graph. We don't know until we look at the graph.
Yep.
The graph tells all. I want to start with the Chicago side of the ball here because it was very disappointing. Justin Fields, he was the quarterback. This was his first start. A lot of people were excited for it, but he had 20 pass attempts, 6 completions for 68 yards and 12 rushing yards. JL, what happened to Justin Fields here?
I don't know.
Good Cleveland Browns defense. First start of the year, but this is disappointing to see.
This is a super disappointing start. I don't know what Matt Nagy is doing. The offensive line could not keep the defense off. And given, we got to give some respect to Cleveland, right? Cleveland's defense is good. So it's not like they were going up against some podunk defense and, they got destroyed. Like, it was a hard matchup. But at the same time, Chicago, come on, 44 passing yards for the whole offense, 44 passing yards, 42 rushing yards, 12 first downs, 45 total plays. That's ridiculous. Their entire time of possession was 19 minutes compared to Cleveland's 40 minutes or 38 minutes and 50 seconds. That's absurd.
Crazy.
Cleveland just absolutely demolished Chicago. Chicago could not get the ball moving, and Justin Fields couldn't do anything. So, I don't know if Justin Fields is going to get better in the next week or two, but obviously he's a talented player. I expect that they'll right the ship, but I don't know if I trust Matt Nagy here.
Yeah, Yeah. Jay, did Andy Dalton get his job back? Sean just came into the comments saying, yeah, Justin Fields got hit so many times. Andy Dalton getting that
He
job
did it
back.
for Andy. He's just
Matt
a nice
Nagy
guy.
said that Andy Dalton was their starter when healthy.
You
When
know
Andy
what?
does it look like that now?
I think Justin Fields would have had to come in here and play like we expected. I would not be surprised to see them go back to Dalton. I don't think it's the right call, but again, it's Matt Nagy that we're talking about. So, and with Fields, the expectation was he was going to struggle passing and that he would be like all these other Konami code quarterbacks that their rushing would raise their floor or it wouldn't be that big of a deal. 12 rushing yards is not what you would expect out of Justin Fields. And Justin Tucker had 2 less yards with that 1 field goal than Justin Fields had passing this entire game. So that tells you everything you need to know about Fields this week.
That is nuts. That is nuts. And he didn't have a great rushing game last week either. He had like 10 rushes for like 31 yards. So that is really disappointing to see from a player you expect to give you rushing value week in and week out. And this is affecting all the receiving options for the Bears as well. I mean, if the quarterback can't throw, then what are the receivers supposed to do?
Yeah,
Even
the offense
Montgomery's
doesn't
not
have
a
the
good
ball.
game.
Right?
Yeah.
If the offense doesn't have the ball, they're not running many plays, and there's just less opportunities to make plays happen, get fantasy points.
Yeah. Until further notice, I'm starting David Montgomery, but I'm nervous about Allen Robinson. I'm nervous about the whole Chicago Bears offense going forward.
I'm still starting Robinson. He's one of those
starting
guys.
him too.
Right. But yeah,
I'm
no,
nervous about him.
To say I'm definitely nervous 100%.
Let's move on to the Cleveland side of the ball here. This was a little bit more productive, let's say, a little bit more optimistic. The one thing that stood out to me the most about this game is that Kareem Hunt, he went off. Nick Chubb had a ton more, 22 carries, 84 yards to Kareem Hunt's 10 carries, but Kareem Hunt had 6 catches and had the rushing touchdown. Is this a trend? JL, is this a trend?
I don't think so. I mean, we saw this type of split last season. I think it's just the type of game, And honestly, they were doing such a good job of just containing Chicago's offense. I could see them just all right, let's just give Kareem Hunt a bunch of opportunities. I mean, he made his. I was going to say a saying. I knew I was going to butcher it, and Maria was going to come right into the comments and make fun of me. So I'm not going to say it. But he got most of his points. He got most of his opportunities in the receiving game. So that's Kareem Hunt's specialty. Nick Chubb will be fine.
Kareem Hunt special. That's what we call that, right, Jay?
Exactly. The Kareem Hunt special.
Absolutely.
I agree with you. You're starting Chubb over Hunt still. Like Chubb is still the more valuable
22 carries. Back. What more could you ask for? He just didn't get a touchdown.
More receptions and more fantasy points, Jay. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I could ask for a lot.
True. But out of your running back, you want the touches. He's got the volume. He's going to get those touchdowns. He's still got 84 yards on the ground. Baker rushed one in. Kareem Hunt rushed one in. If he gets one of those, nobody's batting an eye at Nick Chubb this week. So
you're absolutely right.
Yeah, don't worry about Nick Chubb at all. If anybody's panicking on Nick Chubb, go jump on that real quick. And like you said, JL, they really didn't have to do much. And especially with the extra game this year, I wouldn't be surprised to see more when teams are up that they don't use their stud running back, quite as heavily as they normally would. So I think it's got that extra game. There's definitely going to be some little bit of game theory when there's blowouts.
A little bit of spiciness. Annie in here says, shout out to Maria. Shout out to you, Annie. Shout out to you. And Maria said, bird up, Kev.
I will say that it's encouraging to see Odell Beckham's stat line. 5 receptions for 77 yards and 1 carry. I mean, just the fact that they're willing to give him a carry, I think is encouraging for 10 yards. Just the fact that he's involved in the offense going forward, this gives me a lot more confidence starting him. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I was nervous. I was probably the most skeptical out of the group of us going into this weekend. But he looked good. He made some really good catches. Wasn't anything crazy, but I don't think they really needed to go crazy. And Odell Beckham's Odell Beckham.
Yeah, he looked explosive. He looked like his self. I think as the season goes on, especially once they get Jarvis Landry back, there's the defense can pay less attention to Beckham. I think he's got some upside, and he should have a pretty safe floor as well.
Oh, that's a sweet graph. Look at that. What does the graph tell you?
So we are moving on to our Baltimore Ravens Detroit Lions game, and this one was exciting, guys. The Baltimore Ravens got it the last second with a Justin Tucker 66-yard field goal, longest field goal ever in NFL history.
I'll just sit back. I won't even talk. I'll let you two Ravens fans just discuss this one.
We'll be here the whole rest of the time.
So the negative, real fast, is not the negative. The Ravens were 7.5-point favorites in this game, and they did not cover.
Did not cover.
They were not
so
close
bad.
to covering. It was actually closer to the Lions winning this game. But when we look at the win probability, the Ravens had the game for most of it, but then they were trying to give it away, and then there's the Justin Tucker field goal, and it went back and forth. It was a fun game, guys. This was a very fun game, and this is just becoming a theme for the Ravens lately. They're just have these endings of the games that are just so electric and so much fun. But let's start with the Ravens side of the football. JL, you have something to say down there?
No, I was just going to say, you say electric and fun. I say increases my blood pressure.
Yeah. Isn't that what
Potato,
electricity increases blood pressure?
Exactly.
Looking at this Ravens side of the ball, look, Lamar Jackson, he had a pretty solid game, 287 passing yards. That's encouraging. He got 1 passing touchdown, 58 rushing yards. This is what Lamar Jackson does. Mark Andrews, it's nice getting over 100 yards. In terms of this receiving game, is there anything else that stood out to you? I mean, Marquise Brown, he dropped a couple passes. How do you feel about Marquise Brown going forward, Jay?
I would have felt a lot better if he would have made one of those long catches. And like we talked about earlier when we were watching the games, it seemed to get in his head after that first one that he dropped, because 2 of them were sure 6 points, easy. I still like him long term. I think he's going to stay a big part of this offense. But if he gets the yips, if he gets it in his head, Bateman's coming back soon. We got to see Mark Andrews more involved this week. So
Devin Duvernay got a touchdown.
Yeah, Devin Duvernay got a touchdown. I was really, Jackson got 287 passing yards, but, we were expecting to see him go off against this Lions defense. So he had an okay game, but honestly, from a fantasy perspective, he was disappointing in my opinion.
He was a little bit disappointing from a fantasy perspective. But if I had to, again, we just mentioned Marquise Brown dropped what should have been, I believe, a touchdown or at least close to a touchdown.
2 of
another
them would have been touchdowns.
40, 50 yard gain, which would have made both of their days look a lot better, which in 100%. My mind tells me go buy Marquise Brown if people are concerned, because after watching this game, I'm still confident in his ability to produce with the Ravens offense more than anyone else. If people are low, I'm not saying overpay for him. Do you agree, JL? I heard you say yes.
I 100% agree. While everyone's focusing on these drops, what I saw was he was getting so many high quality targets. He was being targeted so much, which is just opportunity. He's going to fix whatever this drop issue is. I see that as like more of a single game type of thing. He got into his own head, you could tell, but he'll be fine. He's very talented. He'll be totally fine going forward. And if this is your opportunity to buy on the dip for Hollywood Brown, I would do it, because he's going to be good the rest of the season, in my opinion.
I'll say the most concerning thing I would say for this Ravens team is their running game. Latavius Murray, 7 rushing attempts for 28 yards. Tyson Williams, they only gave him 5 attempts for 22 yards. He did get 2 targets, but I feel like we expect more out of this Ravens rushing attack. Don't you guys agree?
Yeah. I honestly, I think that the offense just wasn't moving quite how we expected. None of the running backs really got work. And so that just tells me that how the game was going led the coaches not to utilize their running backs, which is just, it's not going to continue, right? Each game's going to be different. I expect them to get the running backs more involved like they have.
Yeah. And if Tyson Williams doesn't play better, that I do think this offense is going to be a little bit of trouble. Latavius Murray and Devonta Freeman both don't look like they've got anything left in those legs. So Williams is pretty much it, other than Lamar Jackson. So I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if they work out a running back this week, because it did not look pretty from running. They couldn't get it started. Lamar Jackson was the only guy that got anything done on the ground.
Listen, the Browns and the Ravens are in the same division. They're never going to make this trade happen. But how cool would it be to the Ravens get Kareem Hunt, or something like that? That could be awesome. Oof. They would have to give up too much, and they would never make that interdivision.
No, they'd never do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love just thinking of what could be. Now, on the Detroit Lions side of the ball, DeAndre Swift, he was one of the top running backs on the week in a PPR league. He was actually he's currently the 4th highest scoring running back in a PPR league. Guys, both these running backs were usable. Are we going to see more or less of this throughout the season? JL, let me come to you on this one. Are you throwing DeAndre Swift in all your lineups?
Oh, absolutely. I'm throwing both DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams in all my lineups. I tweeted out earlier today, but I honestly think Jamal Williams might be one of the best values at running back that we see this season. He's not the backup. He's really not. They're using him in a similar type of role as Kareem Hunt. So I think that where you ended up getting Jamal Williams is gonna be a value by the end of the year. He's already returned value for you for the first 3 weeks. Hopefully he helped you win some games if you do have him on your roster.
How about you, Jay? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think JL said it perfect. Jamal Williams was practically free in a lot of places, and he's going to be used. They showed they want to use him. DeAndre Swift, a lot of people were talking down on him. He right after the season, everybody was really high, and then once they hired Dan Campbell and made that trade to get rid of Matthew Stafford, everybody was like, oh, DeAndre Swift isn't going to get anything done this season, but I'm perfectly fine with him as a back end running back 1 for the season. He's going to be involved. 7 receptions on top of 14 carries. He's going to be involved all year long. This defense is not that good, even though they were able to shut down Baltimore. I think that was more about Baltimore not playing efficiently versus this defense playing well. So I expect there to be a lot of shootouts in this team's future, and I think both of these guys are going to be involved.
Yeah. In terms of the receiving game, it's more or less what I'm not going to say expected because TJ Hawkinson had a bad game, but the wide receiving core is bad, and it's not going to be something we can rely on from a fantasy perspective. But TJ Hawkinson, you guys are still, I know he had a bad week, 2 receptions for 10 yards, but this doesn't bother me too much against a good defense who knew what they were going to try to do to try to spread the ball deep. TJ Hawkinson's going to have better weeks to come, right?
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely.
100%. I like it, guys. All right, we are moving on to our next game, and we have the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. This was actually a kind of a close one. The Tennessee Titans were favored by 4.5 points coming into this game. I know JL and I were talking beforehand, and we're saying the Titans seem like the right bet, right, JL?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought it was going to be not as close of a game as it was.
Yeah, with Carson Wentz, 2 sprained ankles, how could I was surprised that he was even playing. But I guess the backup option was even worse, right? When looking at the win probabilities, the Titans had this one in hand pretty much the entire game. But going in, starting with the Titans, the Colts here, Nyheim Hines had a heck of a game. He had a great game in week 1 as well. And Jonathan Taylor didn't have quite as good of a game. Going forward, is this more or less what we should expect? Jay, I want to come to you on this one. Are we going to be able to rely on both these guys going forward? Is Jonathan Taylor even reliable?
I'm still perfectly fine with Jonathan Taylor. I think it was just a weird game. I think Nyheim Hines is going to be frustrating because, he had a good week 1. He had a great week this week, and he had 2 touches last week. So you're not going to be able to rely on him on a week-to-week basis. And also, I think a lot of it had to do with Carson Wentz playing with 2 sprained ankles. However, Carson Wentz managed that. They were having to dump the ball off a lot, trying to make sure that Carson Wentz didn't get hit. I'm perfect. If anybody's panicking about Jonathan Taylor, I think it's a perfect opportunity to buy low. Hines, I think, is a flex play that's going to be pretty boom or bust.
Yeah, I think the only difference here was the rushing touchdown. Hines got the touchdown. Jonathan Taylor didn't. And Hines got a little bit more receiving work, but Jonathan Taylor got 10 carries to Nyheim Hines 6 carries. He didn't get the touchdowns this week. He still had a fine fantasy game, 7.7 points. It's fine. I agree. I wouldn't worry at all.
I'm with you guys. Jonathan Taylor, you're still putting him in your lineups, in my opinion. Nyheim Hines, you can put him in your lineups. He's a solid flex play. Now, Michael Pittman, on the other hand, I was worried about him because I didn't know Carson Wentz status. I was really encouraged after seeing what he did last week. 6 receptions for 68 yards, 1 carry for 5 yards. This, again, is encouraging for me, knowing about Wentz's injuries, playing against a decent defense. I like Michael Pittman. Make sure go get him if you can in dynasty leagues, especially. I don't know if you can rely on him, putting him in your wide receiver slot every week, but I'm encouraged by this.
Yeah, I think as long as Carson Wentz is starting, and just tying that into the last point, which was that the Colts, 70% of their plays were passing plays, so that should tell you something, right? That might explain the Hines thing, and Pittman, right? And Pittman is clearly the receiving leader here.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'm comfortable starting as a wide receiver 3. I'm perfectly fine starting Michael Pittman every week. I think if he was going to have a down game, this would be the scenario, and he still pulled out double-digit points. So I love Michael Pittman this year, redraft, dynasty. He's emerged as the top option in the passing game for the Colts. Give me Michael Pittman all day.
I'm with you.
FanDuel and the internet said Jamar Chase would be the young AFC North receiver that was going to drop all the passes. Boy, were they wrong.
That is true.
Classic internet.
He is so much fun, guys. Jamar Chase, he's so electric. I said this to JL. He's just so like he's not getting a ton of targets or anything, but he doesn't need them. He makes big plays happen. That's what
I was about to say. Big play after big play,
and I'm sure
that chemistry is still there between the two.
Yep. Yeah. Completely agree. And I think his role, he'll get more targets. He'll get more opportunities here.
Now, guys, on the Titans side of the ball in this matchup against the Colts, we had Ryan Tannehill, who finally put together a pretty good fantasy game. I think this is encouraging, but I think this is also what we expected. I remember us having conversations about Ryan Tannehill, and I think we expected more from him. Derrick Henry did more or less what you expected, got a lot of work, no touchdowns. Man, if he puts 1 or 2 touchdowns on the board, which he's more than capable of doing, he has one of those explosive games again.
Yeah.
But if he keeps getting work like this, I mean, he's locked in as a top 5 running back.
We should have all seen the Chester Rogers revenge game coming, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
One catch for 6 yards and 1 touchdown. No, Chester Rogers. But I mean, I do want to mention, like, AJ Brown, he did get knocked out of this game. We don't know the extent of the injury yet. But Julio Jones, you would have expected to have a fantastic game if AJ Brown couldn't finish. But this turned into more of a Derrick Henry game script, I think. Right, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think again, it's Julio Jones classic. The classic issue with Julio Jones just didn't get the touchdowns today. It is what it is. I don't think this is similar to on the other side of the ball with the Colts, where we saw like Zach Pascal get those touchdowns, and it was like crazy. And then you look at this week, it's not much. So touchdowns aren't as sticky.
Tannehill only had 27 attempts. The first 2 games, Julio Jones was averaging 7 targets a game. He had over 100 yards last week. He should have had a touchdown. I know, Josh, you and I disagree. I think he was in last week. You disagreed.
Oh, he was in. I'm with you.
It was touching it. There was enough touching it. It was enough.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, you're wrong, but that's besides the point. Julio Jones is going to be just fine.
Absolutely. And guys, let me take a second just to say we appreciate you, everyone watching. FanDuel appreciates you, and they would love you to hit that subscribe button on YouTube, hit that follow button on Twitch, hit that like button on this video. Like,
and Venmo me $50. They would love you to Venmo me
if you
$50.
want. You don't have to do that. He wants.
No,
that.
You have to. It is mandatory.
He's a little needy sometimes. But I think that's a great transition into our next matchup here. We have the Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Los Angeles Chargers like everyone predicted. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
I think no. Kansas City Chiefs going to have the first draft pick overall.
So
that's reserved for the Giants.
Are now 1-2. They are 1-2 in the season. Has Patrick Mahomes had a losing record yet? But anyway, the Kansas City Chiefs were 7 points favorites coming into this game. So even the sports books believe that Kansas City would dominate this game.
Yeah, whoever set that line, man. I was on the FanDuel betting Q&A earlier today, and I was like, oh, I would take the over on this game. I think the total was 54.5.
That's what
Son of a gun.
Vegas
Son of a gun.
Vegas is Vegas for a reason. They always know how to set these lines well.
That hook always gets you.
Looking at our all-knowing graph here, that knows all. Win percentage, it went back and forth. Kansas City looked good at first, and the Chargers, and then Kansas City, and then the Chargers, Kansas City, and then the Chargers took the game at the end. So it was a back and forth game, a fun game, right, guys?
Yeah, no, it really was. And man,
I would like to open up the floor for JL to talk about.
I almost prematurely
Here,
jumped
look,
in
I
here.
see Mike.
Hold on. Hey, this is a
Michael-
family show, JL. Be careful what
Mike
you're saying.
Mike Williams, 7 catches, 122 receiving
Mamma
yards, 2
mia.
touchdowns. I think that's what you were alluding to, Jay.
Yeah.
Let's open up the floor. How good do you feel right now, JL?
Oh, I feel fantastic. Mike Williams, feel vindicated. It's like my early victory lap here. No, but I mean, we've been saying it for the last 2 recaps, right? Mike Williams is looking good. He's getting targeted way more than he has in the past, and he's talented. So hopefully you all listened to us and went and traded for Mike Williams or picked him up if he was on your waiver wire. And I hope he continues to be used this way because he's electric right now. He looked so good in this game. He was making great catches, making great passes.
Great passes.
He's just throwing it to himself.
Might as well. That's how good he is.
Exactly. I'm so excited for Mike Williams. I think we will be drafting him as at least a wide receiver 2 next year, possibly a wide receiver 1.
Ooh, hold on. Time out. That is a hot take, JL.
Week 3. Listen, I've been waiting so long. How many years have I
Surprised you're not wearing your Mike Williams jersey after today.
I wore it on Friday. I thought someone would make fun of me.
Well, I would have, so.
I know.
But
well, Mike Williams through the first 3 games of the season is the top scoring fantasy wide receiver. I thought I might let you guys know that. He was the number 1 scoring fantasy receiver so far this week.
I wonder where's he on the season now? I guess we won't know until
I said number 1.
Literally just said that.
Oh, I don't know. I was not listening. I was not listening at all.
He's the number 1 so far throughout the season.
Dylan said, "How is Mike Williams not a clear wide receiver 1 today?" He is. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, when we do like the season draft, our drafts next season,
drafts.
Yeah, where he'll be drafted. Of course, if we're drafting today, I would be
not a clear wide receiver number 1 if we redraft today. And
I
might be doing a mock draft tomorrow, and we'll see how high he goes.
I'm saying as a draft, not like where does he line up in the rankings? Is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Or where does he line up on the season so far? Because
Williams is so
like
dominant.
Josh said, wide receiver 1.
So dominant. He looks so good. Otherwise in this game, Keenan Allen, he looked great too. I mean, because Justin Herbert looked great and he got the ball to his playmakers, including Austin Eckler, who got 6 catches, 52 yards and a receiving touchdown himself.
He looked good.
Man, this is kind of more or less what we expect out of this offense. Is there anything you guys would like to add here?
One thing I will say is a lot of people were expecting Jared Cook to be a decent tight end.
I did
this season.
I'll be honest with you.
He really hasn't done much this season. This offense has gone through Mike Williams, Eckler, and Keenan Allen, and that's pretty much it. So until further notice, he was one of those guys that you could draft late, maybe play in the right matchups. And I think right now you can't trust Jared Cook.
Yeah, it looked like after week 1, it looked like he was going to be a pretty feature part of this offense, but it has been pretty disappointing the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Jared Cook, it's the landscape of tight ends. When you're looking at those late round guys, I think he's a guy still worth throwing in your lineup when you're talking about like the guys in between the 12 and like 15 category. But
yeah.
You're going to get weeks like this. You're going to get weeks like this.
Yeah. And then Dylan said, Mike Williams not being a wide receiver 1 next year is a hot take. I love that, Dylan. I'm on the bus with you, man. I'm there. The hype train. We're the conductors.
How much did you Venmo him to keep talking about
I know
Dylan.
Well? Dylan is my friend. I've Venmoed him all of my money, which is why I've been asking for money during the stream. Why do you think? Marty said, no Venmo in Canada, jail. Sorry. That's not an excuse. You can mail me a physical check. Come on, Marty.
Do physical checks actually still exist? I don't.
100%.
I've got some over there. Physical checks.
When was the last time you used one? There you go.
Honestly, not that long ago. Maybe like 2 years ago.
Okay.
A year and a half. Anyway, again, like I already mentioned, the Chiefs lost this game. They're 1-2 guys, and Carr is on fire. He's having a great year.
I got it up like in the corner.
10-yard line right now. 28-28 with 1:55 left, at least for me.
Holy crap.
I love football.
We might see our first tie of the year, huh, guys?
You never know.
We'll see. But on the Kansas City side of this ball, I just mentioned they lost to the Chargers. They're 1-2. It keeps surprising me. Mahomes had a fine fantasy game. No worries there. I think the big thing I want to highlight is Clyde Edwards-Helaire comeback game. We were talking about it over the course of the week.
You and I've been saying it.
100 yards. Let's go. He got a reception touchdown, which is great to see. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, can you trust him going forward, Jay? Tell me.
I think he's perfectly fine as an RB2. I mean, that's what he was drafted as. And I think he's, it's not going to always be this way because this team is a pass first team. It's going to go through Hill. It's going to go through Kelsey. And then, Patrick Mahomes likes to do those shovel passes to Pringle and Hardman and all those random guys that have one touchdown. Like where's he at? McCole Hardman with his one touchdown today. So
yes,
I think the upside is limited, but I think he's got a pretty safe floor.
Yes. I think the floor.
Maria,
he's a floor play.
Let's not talk.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Don't you worry.
We can skip that game. We don't have to talk about it. It's fine.
This gives me so much confidence in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm excited. I'm excited for him going forward. Otherwise, Mecole Hardman had a good game. I think, didn't you have him in a lineup, JL?
I did. I had, emergency start. I had to start Mecole Hardman, and it worked out. It worked out. But yeah, my last point on Clyde Edwards-Helaire here are his attempts weeks 1 through 3, 14, 13, 17. That is solid. His yards per carry has increased every single week. I completely agree with Josh. I think we're going to just start to see him hopefully get more efficient. It hasn't been quite clicking yet. And today we saw it click a little bit more, and I expect that going forward.
Well,
now I will mention he got a fumble.
So
he did fumble.
Go ahead.
He did fumble. That's all I want to mention. He did
and
fumble again.
I think that's encouraging, though, that he fumbled and he still got this work. They still used him in the offense. So a lot of times you saw with which you don't see very often in the NFL. It's the old school. You fumble, you're off the field, but they still used him after the fumble. So that tells me that they want to get him involved. And what people so easily forget, it's still only week 3. We still, in the grand scheme of things, we don't know anything. Like just basically everything we said, don't pay any attention to it because it's not going to mean anything by the end of the year. No, I'm kidding.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, running back 1 by the end of the season, guaranteed.
Come back. Guaranteed.
Wide receiver 1, dynasty. Take it to the house.
Yeah,
but look at the way that Justin Jefferson started the season last year. This point last year, nobody even wanted him on his team.
How about just started the season this year? He just had
he had a huge game today.
Top 5 performance right now. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So the thing is, people who were giving up on
wide
CEH,
receiver on the week so far, Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
Yeah.
People were giving up on CEH. It's still very early. As from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, what we think we know has changed so much each week. Do not overreact. Sorry, I'll step off my soapbox.
Shout out Herms here. Says why can't Clyde Edwards-Helaire hold the ball?
Sorry, Herms. I hope
out.
Herms wasn't in here when I was talking bad about Rojo.
Tyreek Hill, he did get 7 targets, 5 receptions for 56 yards. I would not be concerned in the slightest, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, yeah.
The Chiefs are who we thought they were still, even though they're losing these games.
Yeah.
Their fantasy producers are still producing.
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned about anyone here.
Completely agree.
All right, boys, let's move on to the next one here. We got the New England Patriots, not really able to do much against the New Orleans Saints, who we were really concerned about. When we talked about these teams last week, the Saints were really disappointing, while the Patriots really put a beating on Zach Wilson and the Jets. This game did have the Patriots favored by 3 points going in, and they lost. So they really disappointed here. When we look at the win percentage graph that we all love, the Patriots were favored for a split second here. And then it's like, nah, the Saints are the better team today.
Oh, just flip it. Just flip it and we're good.
But guys, let's start with the Saints here, right? They were the away team, and they Alvin Kamara looked good. We needed to see this for Alvin Kamara purposes. Winston kind of did what he's been doing all season. Does anything stand out to you, Jay, that you want to bring up here?
Yeah, and I've said it. I said it last week. I said it in my video that I did earlier in the week. You can't trust Jameis Winston right now. Yeah, he got 2 touchdowns, but 13 completions, 128 yards. He's yet to throw for 150 yards. So outside of that, the 5 touchdowns he got in week 1, he has not looked good. The only Saint that I'm starting right now is Alvin Kamara, and that's it.
I agree 100%, Jay. The only Saint I want to put in my lineup right now is Alvin Kamara. Callaway as an emergency flex.
I wouldn't even be that comfortable with that, honestly.
I don't think I'd want him as an emergency flex either because
he did good today, though.
Yeah, he
had emergency
a
flex, guys.
I get okay. Emergency flex, sure, Josh.
He got 12 points with a touchdown.
The only other player I would start also is the defense. The defense has played really well throughout the season.
Newsflash: the defense is not a player. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Position.
There are many players.
The
It's like Power Rangers. They make one. It's one single entity.
Well,
and the Raiders did win the game, just by the way.
Yes, I was going to.
Oh, let's go Raiders.
Beat you to it.
Let's go Raiders.
Raiders are just like, I swear. Josh, did I not say it earlier? Like, I can't fit. What are the Raiders?
No one gets them. No one.
It feels like they've just like gotten
They
very lucky. Like, there's so many flukes.
Vegas.
This is crazy. I can't believe they won again.
Now, guys, on the Patriots side of the ball, they were the losers to the Saints, and it's kind of weird seeing, the Saints scored 28 points. Really, Alvin Kamara was their fantasy producer, period. On the Patriots side of the ball, Jacoby Myers, their wide receivers actually had good games, especially in PPR formats. Mac Jones, I don't know if he can be relied on, but I think the most disappointing thing is Damian Harris. JL, did anything stand out to you on the Patriots side of the ball here?
Honestly, Mac Jones did not look very good. The Patriots offense still has some things to work through. They're working with a rookie quarterback. These types of things are expected. Look at all the rookie quarterbacks, apart from Trey Lance, who isn't currently starting. Like, they're all having issues adjusting right now. So I think it's a product of that. It's a product of this offense being like high turnover, right? Like, a lot of these guys, this is their first season playing with each other. So I'm not too worried. I am worried, don't get me wrong, but also, like, were you drafting any of these guys to, that high that it's going to be that big of an issue? I don't think any of them are must starts. I wouldn't classify any Patriot as a must start.
No, I completely agree. The guy who I like most got hurt. James White, he only had one attempt and then he was ruled out pretty quickly. So there's a chance he could miss some time. The one thing I will say, we were talking about earlier, that Kendrick Bourne touchdown was phenomenal. It was a beautiful play.
That was really
if you haven't seen it, go find that replay. It was pretty sick. But especially if James White is out, the Ramondre Stevenson and JJ Taylor are going to be the only guys behind Damian Harris. So it could be a struggle for this Patriots offense.
They were behind the whole game too, so it's expected that Damian Harris wouldn't have a very good game.
Guys, I want to bring this up. Through 3 weeks, Jacoby Myers has 29 targets, 19 receptions, while the second on the team is Nelson Aguilar with 17 targets to Jacoby Myers 29 and 10 receptions to Jacoby Myers 19. Jacoby Myers looks to be the most targeted person on this offense by far.
Yeah.
In PPR leagues, I think he's worth owning.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. And maybe even putting in your lineup.
Yeah, what I was saying before was must starts, but Jacoby Myers is absolutely a viable flex player here.
Yeah.
And even Nelson Aguilar.
I'm going to throw him out there. Jacoby Myers is a bit impressing me, and Mac Jones just loves throwing those short, accurate balls, and that's kind of where Jacoby Myers lives.
I got to say, I'm disappointed in both the tight ends, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Thought all the money they spent on both of these guys, they would use them in the offense, and it just simply has not been there so far.
Yeah, they've been disappointments from a fantasy perspective for sure.
Yeah, completely agree. Simon said the Saints are so confusing. They really are.
And we got Inceptivus. Did I say that right? I need 15 from Miles Sanders PPR. Is it possible? It's not only possible, sir. It's not only possible.
It's guaranteed. Josh guaranteed.
Josh guaranteed. If it doesn't happen, Josh is going to Venmo you money.
I will Venmo you your fantasy loss. I'll Venmo you your buy-in if it doesn't happen. No, I'm joking.
I was about to say, you might need to clarify that, Josh.
Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? It's right there. It's like a 50-50 shot. Flip a coin. I think he has a really good shot of doing it, but
I think he's going to need a touchdown to get it done. And what
worries me with
Gainwell has been getting a lot of work in the red zone. Yeah. That's what, and I'm big Miles Sanders fan. As much as I despise the Eagles, I think Miles Sanders is extremely talented. But definitely have to be a little bit concerned that he's not being used in the 2-minute offense and he's not being used in the red zone.
Yeah, it's concerning.
Yeah, I'm projecting him just under 15, so it's absolutely in the realm of possibilities. And I hope that this is going to be a high-scoring game against Dallas here. So I would be fine. Like, I would be optimistic.
Cross your fingers, sir. And again, I'll fax you some Bitcoin if you need it. Moving on to the next game, we
can move on. We can skip this one. We don't have to talk about this one.
We can't. We got to recap the game. We got to recap the week.
Tim said, "Dang, big sad." I'm sorry, Tim. Tim's a big Miami fan.
Yeah, that sucks.
Listen,
Tim,
it happened to Josh and I too.
I'll fax you a hug.
I'll fax you a hug.
I'm hurting right now too.
It's just a blank piece of paper.
I hope everyone has fax machines ready because we do a lot of faxing over here.
Yep.
So
FanDuel gives out FanDuel credit, and we give out faxes.
Yep. Bitcoin hugs.
It's just gonna be Josh's butt. Just photocopied his butt and faxed it.
It does not want to seem to load the team stats, but we have the player
Jay,
stats, and that is
Jay,
all we need. Right?
Are you hacking them right now?
Jay did something here.
Hold on,
naughty boy.
Yep, it happens.
But
just imagine me as the cat gif, just going on the computer like that.
The Giants lost this game. It was a 3-point game. They lost 17
Did you have to say that?
14.
Did you have to say that the Giants?
The Giants were 3-point favorites going. 2.5-point favorites going into this game. Again, Vegas knows how to set these lines, don't they? And FanDuel knows how to set these lines because that was the FanDuel line. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know. This Falcons offense makes me so mad.
Yeah, Matt Ryan. Is there any? How about? I mean, other than Calvin Ridley, which still, guys, I don't. I'm not even going to ask you because you're putting Calvin Ridley in your starting lineup still in a PPR league. 8 receptions, 61 yards. I know he didn't get that touchdown. I know it's a little disappointing still, but you got to continue to start Calvin Ridley. But guys, is there anyone else that you feel comfortable starting at all? Jay, tell me.
No. Simply as that. Mike Davis had a decent day. I mean, he got 12 carries, 4 receptions. So if you drafted Mike Davis as like a RB3, yeah, exactly. They figured me out. All right, guys, I'm out.
Didn't happen if you can't see it.
Yeah, it's true. Mike Davis, I think he's a solid flex play. If he would have wound up getting a touchdown, he'd had a really good day, but close to double-digit points, 4 catches, 12 carries. It's solid. Cordell Patterson is still getting ridiculous usage. And I'll be honest with you, he looks better on the ground than Mike Davis does. I like the way that they're using him. But I have to say, I don't understand why they won't throw the ball to Kyle Pitts. Why do you use a top 5 pick on a tight end like Kyle Pitts and not throw him the ball? Lee Smith got more receptions than Kyle Pitts. Let me repeat that. Lee Smith. I think that's his name. It sounds like it.
Lee Smith. He's an old mainstay.
He's an old soul. But and before this game, I wasn't too concerned about. I wasn't too concerned about Kyle Pitts because he was getting the targets, but they only targeted him 3 times this game. I still long term, I think Kyle Pitts is going to be fine, but it just reminds me of how in the past that they refused to throw Julio Jones in the end zone. The Falcons, for some reason, in the red zone, the Falcons just are a frustrating offense. They don't do what many would seem to think is just the easy thing to do, get Kyle Pitts involved. But I think he'll be fine long-term, but it's extremely frustrating.
I'm with you. And honestly, I'm seeing something in the chat right here. And I got to put it up because he sounds like he's in need. He says, please, I need opinions. I'm down 13. Rager or Sermon?
Sports fan.
I have a very obvious opinion in my book, and it's Trey Sermon. He was already announced as the starter. And if it maybe, regardless, it's Trey Sermon. The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan's running scheme is able to produce ample fantasy points year in and year out, regardless of who it is running the football. Trey Sermon's the starter. It's got to be Trey Sermon over Jalen Reagor.
One thing I will say, sports fan, let us know if it's a PPR league, because if it's not PPR, there's no question. I assume it's PPR. I will lean Sermon here as well. The only thing that scares me is Shanahanigans. I do like Trey Sermon. I do think he's going to get the touches, but you never know with Kyle Shanahan. So I do lean Sermon as well. Reagor has looked pretty good this year, honestly. He had a touchdown called back last week that he stepped out of bounds that he would have had a really big week last week.
I'm pretty sure he had a touchdown called back both the last 2 weeks, but I could be mistaken.
I don't know about week 1. I know he did yesterday. Yeah, he had one yesterday too. He wasn't playing, but
yesterday, definitely.
But definitely week 2 he had one called back. But yeah, I'm with you.
Is it Sermon for you too, Jo?
My brain says Sermon. My brain says Sermon. He's running back. He's going to get probably more of the carries. I hope that this game does not go in a way that like I'm concerned that we haven't seen it from Trey Sermon, and that even though he's named the starter, that they don't use him in that way. Rager is going against Dallas, which doesn't have a great secondary, and I'm hoping is going to be a really good game considering it's a interdivision and it's a Monday night prime game. I might go Rager if I want that high upside, but the smart play is Sermon here. So I had to give that caveat, that context to that.
So basically, you're saying Josh and I are smart and go with our decision.
So it's Sermon. It's Sermon. Not joking.
It's Sermon.
I will say Elijah Mitchell was announced out. And like, just real quick, guys, what are the odds that Dak and Zeke put up more than 40 points combined tomorrow in a PPR league? I would put it under 50% for sure. Dak, I'll put him at like 20, just over 20 points, while Zeke's right under 20 points, which puts you pretty close to 40. I'm going to say what I put the over under at is 36 points for these guys. So
I'd say
40%.
I'd say more likely than not, to be honest with you. I expect a lot of points to be scored. And Amari Cooper is going to play. Dak has shown that he's looked phenomenal. It's going to be on Zeke. I think Dak is going to get the points. It just depends if Pollard is getting the work out of the backfield or if Zeke's able to get a touchdown or two.
You agree? What do you think, Trail?
Yeah, I think that the Eagles offense is going to be able to score some points against this Dallas defense. And I think the Dallas offense is going to have to respond. And I don't think the Eagles defense is as scary as it might seem based off of the last 2 weeks. I think that they're going to have trouble. And I wouldn't say it's like guaranteed. I'm not confident about it. Like, I think I'm projecting them when you add their projections together, it's going to be right above 40. So I'm not saying that it's guaranteed, but I would be optimistic.
I'd say 60-40 for me.
Let's get into this New York Giants game, guys. Saquon Barkley finally had a decent game. 16 carries, 51 yards, 1 rushing touchdowns. I know there was that scare where he did come out of the game, and a lot of people, I think, were nervous. He did have 6 catches for 43 yards. This is encouraging to see, but Sterling Shepard also was knocked out of this game, which is probably part of the reason why Saquon Barkley got 6 receptions, right, guys? Is there anything that stood out to you in this game personally, JL, that you kind of wanted to go over here? It's kind of not much to me.
Yeah, no, I wish that we would have seen some more efficient performance out of Saquon Barkley. But honestly, they're going to use him. Like, who else are they going to use? They have Saquon Barkley. You're going to use him. And we said all week, we said last week on the Sunday night recap that Saquon Barkley is going to be fine. Don't worry. And they're working him back into this. My biggest concern is just going to be whether this Giants offense is going to be able to actually move down the field. But I'm perfectly happy with Saquon Barkley this week.
Anything to add, Jay?
Yeah, I think it's more of a volume play now with Barkley. It's going to take some time. We all knew that. Barkley knocking off the rust for the injury last year. I'm a little bit concerned from a fantasy perspective. He's yet to have that Saquon Barkley look on the field. He had that one rush, I think it was last week, that 40-yard rush that, like, all right, that's a Barkley play. That's the Barkley that I know. He didn't really have that today. I watched almost this entire game as a Giants fan. So I am a little bit concerned. I want to see some more of those plays, but like you said, the 6 receptions to 43 yards is going to keep his value up there. I still think he's a running back 1 simply based on volume. But not only did Shepard go out, but Darius Slayton was out for this game too. So I think this also kind of going down to Kadarius Toney. Those 2 guys were out, and he still only had 2 catches. So let's not talk about Toney too much. But yeah, you would expect that if Toney doesn't get involved here, then
Toney,
when is he going to get involved?
Marty said, "Jay, change your name to L Man, Jay."
Man, Marty, come on,
Roasted.
man. I thought that's messed up, Marty. I co-managed like 6 teams with Marty. I thought we were boys, but I guess not.
Obviously not.
NBA Rig said, I was looking for you guys on Twitch, but I guess you're only on YouTube. We're actually on Twitch too, on FanDuel's channel. Just look up FanDuel on Twitch and make sure that you hit the follow button on there too, and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. We're here every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, recapping the earlier games. So we'll be here.
Guys, we're moving on. We're moving on to this Pittsburgh Steelers Cincinnati Bengals game. The Steelers were 2-point favorites in this, and the Bengals straight up dominated them. If we look at our fun little win graph, the Bengals really took over just before halftime there. In terms of the Cincinnati Bengals, we knew that T. Higgins wasn't going to play in this game, so errors we're pointing out for Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd looked so good at the beginning of the game, getting most of his production at the beginning, getting that touchdown, didn't do much afterwards. Jamar Chase did what we expected, more or less. Joe Burrow was a little disappointing from a fantasy perspective, but was usable. Really what I want to focus on here is Joe Mixon. Can you start Joe Mixon in your lineups going forward? Jay, let's come to you. I know you're a Joe Mixon fan.
Yes.
How does this performance make you feel?
Yeah, I'm still 18 carries, 90 yards. He got a catch. I'm still all in on Joe Mixon. This offense hasn't fully gotten started. They're still playing a little bit conservative with Joe Burrow coming back from injury. I've watched a lot of the Bengals this year, and they're still, I think by the end of the season, this is going to be an extremely dangerous offense. Even though Burrow only had less than 200 yards, still had 3 touchdowns, and that was without one of his top options, T. Higgins. Like we mentioned earlier, Jamar Chase has just looked phenomenal. Everybody, he can't catch the ball because it doesn't have those white stripes on it. It's just
yeah.
The overreaction theater in the offseason just blows my mind sometimes.
Wait, how? Jay, are you hacking again? Number 5 here. Total yards for Pittsburgh was negative 4,580. What in the world? What did Pittsburgh do to you?
They had
the rushing yards. The rushing yards were the problem here.
They targeted Najee Harris so much they just broke
yards
the game.
Yards per play is great.
Negative
-52.
Can you imagine? Every time they snap the ball, it shoots back.
Just turned around and just ran backwards. But yeah, that's me again. So sorry about that.
That is so funny.
But guys, I'm here to tell you, along with Joe Mixon's in your lineups, guys. Joe Mixon in your lineup. Anything else to add here, JL? Anything?
We knew it was going to be a tough matchup. Pittsburgh is pretty good against the run. Pittsburgh has a good defense, so it was a little disappointing. I would have loved to see him get some touchdowns here, be a little bit more efficient with it. But 18 carries, you got follow the carries. That's the sticky stat you want to look at every week. If he's getting the opportunities, it'll regress.
Yes. Let's look at the Pittsburgh side of the ball. Edward coming in here saying Big Ben considering retirement after today.
I don't know if it's a joke or serious.
Yeah, no, I think
either way.
I think it's a joke, but I think he probably should. The biggest thing in my mind here, well, there's 2 things. We knew that Deontay Johnson was missing the game. Juju Smith-Schuster got knocked out of the game. Chase Claypool getting 9 receptions, and Najee Harris getting 14 carries and 14 receptions on 19 targets. Holy
58 passing attempts by Big Ben.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
This was kind of crazy in my mind. Chase Claypool got 16 targets himself, 10 catches, 107 yards. Well, what this tells me is when Johnson and T. Higgins are out, oh my, Najee Harris and Chase Claypool are going to be fantastic. I don't know if that's going to be the case going forward. I expect Juju and Deontay Johnson back next week. And if that's the case, let's say they're back. Can we rely on Chase Claypool and Najee Harris, JL? Either one.
Najee Harris, yes, absolutely. I mean, we were expecting this coming into the season. We've seen it since the preseason. They're just going to feed Najee Harris. It reminds me a lot of Saquon Barkley's rookie year. And that's what you want to see. And Najee Harris is a very talented player. Claypool, I don't know that you're going to see this many targets. He historically has not been a high target guy, but more of just a big play guy. But I'd love to see it. 9 receptions and 96 yards. He's talented. So absolutely, I'm happy starting him every week.
Yeah. Najee Harris, absolutely happy start. Claypool, this is a good thing. This is a good sign of things to come, in my opinion, at the very least.
Yeah, completely agree.
At the very least.
At the very least.
Jay, anything else to add on the Pittsburgh side of the ball here?
Big Ben bad.
Big Ben bad. Big bad.
I was expecting a little bit of a bounce back, but he's just looked pretty terrible this season. Yeah, I think, it took him 58 pass attempts to get 318 yards, and he only got 1 touchdown. Now, granted, 2 of his top 3 wide receivers went out, but still, I'm concerned about Big Ben making it through the whole season. Honestly, he's just looked terrible.
Big Ben, big bad. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that's a pretty good way to sum it up. The next matchup we have here is the Arizona Cardinals and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Arizona Cardinals took care of business. They were 7.5-point favorites while the Jacksonville Jaguars were at home today. And look, it was a
Got a
close
little
game
rocky
in the middle here. It got a little rocky. It looked like the Jaguars might be able to pull it
Doing
out,
a
but
little
they are
dance
going
in
to
the
be
middle
0-3,
there.
and the Cardinals are going to be 3-0. And man, Kyler Murray continues to drive this offense. He didn't have any passing touchdowns, but he was efficient passing, and he did have a rushing touchdown. What stands out to me the most, there's a couple things. There's the two running backs. There's James Conner scoring 2 touchdowns and Chase Edmonds. And then there's Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore. DeAndre Hopkins, I got to say this. I don't think we have to worry because he was doubtful actually coming into this game. He ended up playing. I think his injury had something to do with this. But let's start with James Conner and Chase Edmonds real fast. Is this a sign of things to come, Jay? What do you think?
I think it's going to be a pretty frustrating offense from a running back standpoint. I think they're both going to be involved. Kyler Murray, he got another rushing touchdown this week. James Conner got 2. So I think that they're both going to be involved. Chase Edmonds was more involved in the passing game. That's going to help boost his floor. But James Conner stealing those touchdowns like that hurts. If Edmonds was able to get just one of those touchdowns, man, like you'd be excited to start him as your RB2. And I still think he's fine, but I think it caps his ceiling with touchdowns getting vultured from both Conner and Murray.
Yeah. JL, do you agree there?
I have a little bit of a disagreement there. Not fully, but just a different perspective here. I think we always knew that Conner was going to have a role in this offense. And really the only difference here in this game was the touchdowns. I mean, Chase Edmonds is still heavily used, same number of carries. Conner was just a little bit more efficient and got more of the goal line work. And what really stood out to me is Chase Edmonds, 7 receptions. He wasn't super efficient with that. 7 receptions, 49 yards. So it's not super efficient, but compared to James Conner's 1 reception, that to me, I would much rather have Chase Edmonds going forward, especially PPR. That's 7 points right there. Not including, not even considering the yards as well.
Yeah, and in terms of I agree with you guys. Chase Edmonds, I think, is going to be a little bit more consistent, while James Conner is going to be more of that touchdown guy. I think Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds last year, but Chase Edmonds has a little bit more of a role compared to last year. So Chase Edmonds a little bit more safe. Connor's going to have that touchdown upside every week, though.
And Conner was able to get about roughly 20 more yards on the ground with those rushes than Chase Edmonds. So I think it's going to be, week to week. If Edmonds gets that touchdown, his value is going to skyrocket. But he's definitely got the safer floor.
Yeah, without the touchdowns, he finishes with what, or around 5 to 6 points. I think most people would be pretty worried with that, with a slow start already. So those touchdowns save him, but I don't think you can expect 2 touchdowns every week.
No.
Now, with Christian Kirk and Rondale Moore, I think a lot of people were comparing these two last week. Rondale Moore had a growing role with this offense, but now Christian Kirk went off and was one of the top receivers for the week, 7 receptions for 150 yards. I don't think you're ever going to be able to rely on one of these guys throughout the season. Rondale Moore in a dynasty context, yes, all day. I want to get him still. They're both going to have big games throughout the year, but I don't know if I feel comfortable putting either of these guys in my flex right now.
Yeah, I think either way, you're just hoping for that receiver is the one that pops off that week, and we're not seeing a clear trend.
Yeah. I think this offense is designed to ride the hot hand, and with whoever's got the best matchup. Rondale Moore had 8 targets last week. Christian Kirk has 8 targets this week. They like to use that 4 wide receiver set a lot. They call it the air raid offense for a reason. I am comfortable starting either of these guys in the flex, but it's the definition of boom bust with both of them. You're either going to have a big game or you're going to be really disappointed.
Yeah,
absolutely. So here's the thing. On the other side of the ball, it's a little bit different. They're not quite the Arizona Cardinals over there. Kyler Murray kind of helps on the other side of the ball. But we did see James Robinson finally have a breakout game this season. I was saying this throughout I'm going to take a little victory lap because I was saying, load up your James Robinsons. I'm very excited for him this week. I think this is going to be his breakout week, and he did do it with 6 catches and 15 carries and a rushing touchdown. He was by far the best Jaguars player today. In the receiving category, Laviska Shenault played, Marvin Jones, DJ Chark. Is it just going to be a revolving door of we don't know who to play at the wide receiver position? JL, what do you think here? Can we trust any of these wide receivers for the Jaguars?
Not while the passing game is not moving, right? We haven't seen this offense, and it's partly Trevor Lawrence is not playing well. It's partly I think Urban Meyer doesn't quite have this figured out yet. But 22 completions on 34 attempts, 219 yards at the end of a game like this, and 1 passing touchdown. That's not quite enough volume to support,
2
that many
fumbles as
receivers.
well.
Yeah, so until we get some clarity, I'm not starting any of them. But except for Marvin Jones, I think you can start. He's been pretty consistent. I would be fine starting him week to week.
6 catches for 62 yards. That's
fine.
Somewhat encouraging. At least, I mean, DJ Chark had a touchdown, so he had more fantasy points. But touchdowns, they're a little bit more fluky, right?
Yeah, and I don't expect. I think Marvin Jones. I'm sorry. Yeah, Marvin Jones is the only consistent one there. Even if the offense isn't quite moving as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next game here, we did have the New York Jets get completely shut out, score 0 points against the Denver Broncos. The New York Jets offense is not looking good right now.
Wow.
I think a lot of people thought it.
Spread.
I think a lot of people thought that the Patriots defense kind of was the reason that the Jets were so bad looking last week. And, maybe people didn't think the Broncos were quite as good, but now the Broncos are 3-0. They look great. JL, you were talking about this coming into the game, right? You're thinking the Broncos were a better team than people expected. I will say real fast that the Broncos were 10.5-point favorites.
10.5. Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was, I think Josh, you and I were talking about this morning. That seemed high at the time. Like didn't seem like that, like the Jets would be that bad, but man,
look at this win probability graph
right
here.
That is curvy.
Never stood a chance, Jets.
Never.
I am sorry. But on the Jets side of the ball, no fantasy scoring.
Oh boy.
Corey Davis was the highest fantasy scorer with 6.6 fantasy points, 5 catches, 41 yards. This is gross, guys. Can we rely on anyone here?
No.
Nope.
I mean, I think
if there's anyone, it's Corey Davis.
That's what I was gonna say. Is that the only one that I think you can semi-rely on is Corey Davis? But
I wouldn't rely on. I think he's more of the guy. The only guy you could consider starting.
Something out of. Yeah, you can expect something out of in the week.
Right.
But I mean, 160 yards passing yards by Zach Wilson. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You can't make any fantasy points from that.
No,
bench your New York Jets going forward. You can start Corey Davis in a pinch, but on the Broncos side of the ball, a little bit more encouraging, especially from the running backs. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams continue to be, each of them, they keep producing pretty good fantasy points, guys.
Pretty good game script for him today.
But all 3 weeks though, like they've each been usable, I believe. Courtland Sutton, a little bit of a disappointing game. Tim Patrick, a good game. These running backs, though, I think this is the highlight in my mind. Can we keep on starting both these guys, Jay?
Yeah, I was saying all offseason that Melvin Gordon was getting severely disrespected.
You were.
He's getting a lot of value. He
deserved it.
Well, obviously JL has a personal problem with Melvin Gordon, but I do not. And everybody was just expecting Javonte Williams to come in and take over this backfield, but they have a lot of money in Melvin Gordon. He played pretty well last year. I think as of right now, he could be one of the steals of the draft season so far because he was going super late. He was available on a lot of waiver wires. And he's got 2 touchdowns on the season. He's got went over 100 yards in the first week. They're going to use both of these guys. And I think that this is the type of offense that they're going to run. Bridgewater's look good, but he's not a guy that's going to air it out. They've got a good defense. They're going to run the ball. And try to play good defense and grind away games. And I expect both Gordon and Javonte Williams to produce pretty much this whole year.
Yeah. I will say they had a pretty easy opening schedule here. Giants, Jacksonville, Jets. But they played Baltimore, Pitt.
We're going to learn.
I can't believe I'm going to include them in this, but the Raiders and Cleveland and then Washington. That is it's a really tough schedule coming up. The game scripts might not go in their favor, but the double digits carries by both of these guys is encouraging, and Melvin Gordon's passing work, receiving work.
He's a really good passer.
He's the best passer.
Guys, I'm here to tell you, continue to start Courtland Sutton. I know 5 receptions for 37 yards isn't great, but I'm still confident in his ability to produce.
And one thing too, look and see if Jerry Jeudy's available on your waiver wire. He is going to be coming back this season. So I've seen he's still available in close to 25% of leagues, according to Yahoo. So he could be somebody you could throw at the end of your bench, especially if you have an IR spot that you could throw him on for now.
All right, guys, moving on to our next game here. Man, we were talking about this one a little bit because it went to overtime. It was a fantastic game. The Raiders pulled it out 31-28 last minute. This was a fun one, guys. The Raiders were 3.5-point favorites at home against the Dolphins. They did not cover the spread. Vegas did it again.
They did it.
They win by 3
Sons of
points.
guns.
And it did go back and forth a little bit. The Dolphins were looking good at the beginning of the game, but the Raiders kind of took over the end. The Dolphins tried to make a comeback, but couldn't quite do it. Looking at the Miami side of the ball, Jacoby Brissett had a decent game. They've really got Gesicki and Jalen Waddle involved, but it was a lot of short passes for both these guys. Gesicki is really the surprising thing, but Jalen Waddle, he continues to get targets. I think he's going to be a consistent producer. Can Gesicki be a consistent producer with this team? Do you guys have an opinion there?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on if Tua is going to come back, and they're just.
He's just placed on IR, so he's at least going to miss 2 more games.
So yeah. I wouldn't be too trustful of him. I mean, through the first 2 weeks, he had 9 total targets. He had 12 just this week alone. I don't know if that's going to continue. If we start, if next week we see Brissett target Gesicki just as much again, then maybe I start to pay attention. Maybe we see a trend there. But till then, I'm just going to chalk this up to a weird game.
Brissett threw 50 passes. He's not going to be doing that every week. No. That's a lot of passes for Brissett.
Yeah.
Wow. And two, if this is only happening with Brissett under center, Tua is obviously going to come back and be the starter. So Gesicki seems to always do this. He'll have a big game here or there and then just go ghost and just disappear. So I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I'm with you. But Jalen Waddle's production, I think, can be consistent throughout the year. I think they want to get him involved with the 13 targets and 12 receptions.
58 reception yards with 12 receptions. That's impressive.
Like that nice screen pass on the one. That was fantastic. Mm-hmm. Great play call.
Real fast, there's a question in the chat. Will CD give me 12 points to win this week in a half-point PPR league? And I am here to tell you yes.
I love 100%.
This is the first time I feel really confident saying yes or no. But I think CD is easily going to get 12 points tonight.
He might have that in the first quarter. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So I'm all about that. Now, on the Raiders side of the football, Derek Carr, he continues to put up big yards. Peyton Barber, 23 carries, while I think a lot of people thought Kenyon Drake would be not the leader in terms of carries, but at least like split carries with Peyton Barber. And Peyton Barber looked good. I think this is a good sign for Josh Jacobs going forward. Is there anything that stood out to you in this game, JL, that you wanted to mention?
No, I mean, I'm glad that they started to get the receivers a little bit more involved, not just hyper target Darren Waller. I thought Ruggs and Edwards both looked good. I don't know. I mean, until further notice, I think we have to consider the Raiders are top percentile team. It's wild.
And Simon would be happy to see Hunter Renfrow getting 5 catches.
I was gonna mention that.
Simon.
Well, Simon, I think we talked about it, and he said we were talking about our favorite Raiders wide receivers, and he was like, "Am I crazy to think Hunter Renfrow?"
I love Hunter Renfrow. He's been so consistent throughout the last 3 weeks too.
I'm taking Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards over Hunter Renfrow still, but
upside,
Hunter Renfrow is the
safety. Yeah, you can't even
guaranteed. Hunter Renfrow's your guy.
Yeah.
And now, if you want more than 10 points, then good luck with Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah.
He's got 16 just this week.
With the touchdown.
Put respect on Hunter Renfrow's name.
I see a question in the chat here, guys. We talked about Gibson a little bit earlier. Jay, I want to come to you with this one. Should I sell Gibson high? I feel like all of his production was from one play. What do you think about that, Jay?
I would not. It's so hard to get a running back who's considered a bell cow. Excuse me, got a little tickle in my throat.
No. Let me just tell you, I agree with you. One play did kind of produce all his fantasy points. You're absolutely correct, but he's so talented and he showed it on that one play.
Yep, exactly. And he's going to be the guy out of this backfield. J.D. McKissic will be involved in certain games, but them getting rid of Peyton Barber showed me that they want him to be the bell cow in this offense. It's so hard to get that, especially in fantasy. So for me, no, I would hang on to Antonio Gibson.
I have a slightly different opinion. I would say if you can sell high, like assuming that someone's willing to buy high on Antonio Gibson, I might consider that. Hasn't been. I believe in his talent. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think the offense is going to be what we thought. I don't think Antonio Gibson has the ceiling that we thought coming into this season.
So who's somebody you would be comfortable with, JL? Let me ask you. Who,
What
if
do you
somebody
mean, trading?
offered you, trading. So if somebody offered you, say,
Mike Williams.
Saquon,
I
Saquon
created the
Barkley
worst.
right
I
now.
created the worst scenario for myself. Don't ask me that one. Saquon or Gibson?
Oh,
Give me Saquon.
how about Swift or Gibson, guys?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I know, because Swift
Oh
looks
my
so good
God.
this week. Swift looks so good.
I think
and
that's a
he's gonna
lateral move.
continue
I think
to get
that's
more
too
and more
close.
involved. Swift's more involved in the passing game. That's the only reason why I might consider Swift.
I might lean Swift. Yeah.
JL Mike Williams.
No.
No,
No.
you need
No.
Mike Williams like plus. You need like Mike
Yeah.
Williams plus like I don't
That's
even
why.
know.
That's like, yeah. You're at that point. You're really getting Mike Williams at a ceiling.
What
so.
about Mike Williams and like Chase Edmonds for Gibson? Ooh, now we're talking. Hey, we got to move along here.
All right.
This is great conversation.
I would
not
still
trying
keep
to sell
Gibson
high
in
on
that scenario, but that's just me.
I'm trying to keep Gibson if I can. I
Yep.
think yeah.
By the way, Jim's to sell Hawkinson. Terrible week for PPR. It was a bad week. Wouldn't worry. Wouldn't worry. Don't panic. Don't sell low. Oh, he's before we've seen him get so many targets. I think that's just going to continue. It's just one game. And wait till he has a really good week, and then sell him if you want to sell him then.
And then James saying, what about like Najee? And that is something I would take.
I would take Najee.
I would take Najee, but I've been a
Gibson.
huge Najee stan all off season. So yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna be able to get him though for Antonio Gibson
after 19 targets today.
One for one trade like that's already hard. I don't think. And Najee's had such a good game, you're not gonna be able to.
Yeah. Now this next game we have here is this is like the game of the week coming in. The Rams did edge out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, giving the Buccaneers their first loss. The Los Angeles Rams are now 3-0, winning 34-24 coming into this game. The Rams were 1.5 point favorites, and it was a back and forth game throughout. But Tom Brady, he produced like he's done all season. Chris
55.
Godwin did his thing, and Mike Evans put together a very good game with 8 receptions and 106 yards. I think all the people in offense produced more or less how we expected. Gronk, maybe a little disappointing. He did get hurt a little bit in the and he got hurt for a little while, but still not a horrible game for a tight end. Anything stand out to you guys on the Tampa Bay side of the ball here?
Pretty much went exactly like you said, how you would expect. And the only reason Cameron Brate really got involved was because Rob Gronkowski did get hurt and he went out. So you give a couple of those catches to Gronkowski, he'd continue his hot start like he had. It's nice to see Mike Evans have a game like this. You know, he's not usually a guy that gets a lot of targets. So for him to get 8 receptions and over 100 yards, have a good day without scoring a touchdown, that's encouraging for Mike Evans.
Yeah, the only thing that I will add to this to Tampa Bay analysis is that is Ronald Jones droppable at this point, you guys? I mean, Leonard Fournette, he didn't have a great game, but he's clearly the most used here.
Ronald Jones is droppable, 100% droppable. I'm not trying to drop him. I want to hold on to him, but let's see. I mean, it depends who you're dropping for, like we always say, and I'm willing to drop him. Chuba Hubbard, drop him. Get Chuba Hubbard kind of deal.
Yeah, I think at this point you have to. I mean, he's yet to get more than 6 attempts in a single game. Like you said, I think, Josh, you said it perfect. You're not looking to actively drop him, but if he's you can drop and you have a Chuba, you've got somebody like that on the wire that is producing or has an opportunity, I think he's fine to drop.
Now on the LA side of the ball, people produce like we expected. Stafford had a great game. Cooper Kupp continues to have great games. He's going to be he's a wide receiver 1, I think, the rest of the season. The big thing I want to point out though is Robert Woods again with a disappointing week. Guys, I'm really nervous about Robert Woods.
Yeah, God,
I'm still putting him in my flex, but
I'm still not too concerned. He's still playing a lot. I think the expectations have to be reset. I was talking about this earlier in the week in my 10 Things video. It was expected to be a 1A, 1B situation, Kupp and Woods, and that's not the case. It's obvious that Cooper Kupp is the go-to guy for Matthew Stafford. I think instead of being that high-end wide receiver 2, Woods is going to be more of that low-end wide receiver 2 that you really need a touchdown in order to get that big week. He's still getting a lot of targets. He had 9 targets last week. He had 6 targets this week. So I think the big games are going to come. It's just you have to reset your expectations.
Yeah, and we have one more game here. That was a good run through with the Tampa Bay Rams. The Rams are a good team, guys. The Rams are a good team. We have to look out for them. And finally, we have the Seattle Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings winning this game. They were 2.5-point underdogs actually, and Seattle Seahawks were away. Is there anything that stands out in this game? DK Metcalf finally had his breakthrough performance. Tyler Lockett was disappointing, but these guys, like we talked about in the past, are going to go back and forth. Chris Carson continues to produce. So I don't think there's a ton on Seattle's side, but on Minnesota's side, Justin Jefferson went off. Is there anything that stands out to you guys in this whole game here?
I mean, we said last week on our recap that DK Metcalf was going to come back, right?
Yeah.
We knew that DK Metcalf is super talented, and not to panic with Tyler Lockett getting his touchdowns and those big plays. And when we saw it this week, and that's good to see. I'm excited for both those guys going forward. But I'm glad that happened, that DK actually had a good game, because I feel like people would have definitely started tilting.
I was just trying to see what I could find. I haven't found anything yet, but Tyler Lockett did go down with a pretty bad injury at the end of the game. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I haven't seen anything yet, but it did not look good. I wouldn't be surprised to see if he misses some time.
That would suck, but it would be beneficial for DK in my mind.
Yeah. Hey, Alexander Madison had a good game, which is nice.
Alexander killed it. They just ran him 26 carries, and Justin Jefferson finally having his breakout game of the season, right?
Yeah. Kirk Cousins continues to produce. Like he's another guy that's severely disrespected every offseason, but he just puts up numbers.
All right, guys, we got this Sunday night game starting. The Green Bay Packers, they got a field goal. The score's 3-0 against the San Francisco 49ers. I am excited to go watch this game. Aren't you guys? I don't know.
Yes.
Quick reminder, like and follow this stream. You can follow on Twitch. Hit the follow button. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button on YouTube. Come on,
Venmo
guys.
JL.
We appreciate it. Venmo JL some money. Why not? Let's go. We had a lot of fun here. And I'm ready for Sunday and Monday night, guys.
Yeah. We'll be back next Sunday, 7 p.m. every week. Every NFL Sunday, we will be here 7 p.m. to recap these games. So
I will not be here next Sunday. I will be in the most magical place on earth. I will be at Disney
Arby's
with my family.
The Golden Corral.
The meats.
But this was a lot of fun.
Always. Thanks for tuning in.
You know what?
Thanks for the questions.
Absolutely. And we're going to see you guys next week. And remember, in fantasy, trading always makes fantasy fun.
There it is.
Threw the always in there, little fancy sprinkle in there. I like